After this string of bad Tom Zito games and the true torture that was Hell, a cyberpunk thriller, I've been pretty scared to even play anything on the 3DO. But alas, some time has passed, my bravery built back up, and I'd say it's time to give the 3DO another chance to redeem itself. Daedalus Encounter, and hey, it stars Tia Carrere. You know that chick from Wayne's World and True Lies? Yeah, a game with a little bit of star power. This might not be so bad. Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of... Oh God, what's happening?
Come on, Case. All right, dude. We got two breaking formation, Case. All right, Case, you got one coming up. He's waiting. Right in front of you. Come on, Case, shoot. We got him. Oh, shit, we got an outage on that control. Collision in 8, 7, 6.
Casey, this is Ari. God, I hope you can hear me. Look, your ejection pod hit some debris. You got hit pretty bad, but the med techs are trying to fix you up with life support and artificial senses.
You just hang in there, Case, and you'll be okay. Audio link is activated. Cutting in visual in 3, 2, 1.
Switch on neural interface.
You got it.
Casey? It's Ari. Hi. Look. Your mind has been placed in a cerebral support mechanism. It's a device that when...
She's trying to say you're a brain in a box, Case.
What?
Zach, could you let me handle this, please?
Oh.
Look, it's kind of hard to explain. Here, why don't I let you take a look at yourself? Now, you may not look the same.
Whoa, no, stop. 1, why would you keep me alive? In this state, what can I really do for them that they couldn't already do on their own? I don't possess any information that they don't. Keeping me in this state simply means I'll be performing the most menial of tasks, and it's at the expense of my own seriously reduced existence. In other words, I'm R2-D2 with a lot less awesome. 2, how would you keep me alive? Okay, so it's the future. Technology is greatly improved compared to the lifestyle that you and I are familiar with. I can buy that. So you have the technology to basically build a washing machine that somehow keeps my brain alive. Were robotic limbs not possible? Think about what they've shown so far. I don't have my eyes or ears, and already they've shown they have the technology to make it so my brain can receive and interpret both images and sound. You might be thinking it's because they were caught off guard by my accident, but that's actually my point. The brain is dependent on the body for its blood flow supply. It needs approximately 20% of it. That means this machine would have to have been built specifically for me in advance. Does that mean there's several of these already built? And if so, why not robotic limbs or something? Not only that, but nothing was salvageable except for my brain that I'd like to call domo poop. At about the 15-minute mark, recovery of the brain is pretty much impossible. At just 1 to 3 minutes, you've already suffered serious, unrecoverable brain damage. Do you really think anyone got to me that quickly? In my escape pod, I was hit by debris which would have knocked me well away from the rest of the crew. These are fighter ships, so it would be unrealistic to think these brain-holding easy-bake ovens would be on board them. So that means another fighter ship would have to have captured all of us and bring us back to the main hub. Do you really think anyone did that in under 3 minutes? 3? Who would want to play this? When you ask other gamers what their favorite character is, how many times have you heard Mario, Sonic, or even Bonk? Have you ever heard someone say their favorite character was a toaster? And I mean a real-life toaster, as in you're sitting there all day waiting for something to do. Oh my god, I'm so bored. Oh, I'm so bored. Oh, are you gonna put some toast in me? Are you gonna put some toast? Yes! Yes, put the toast in me! Oh, toast! Yes! Oh, the toast! We play games to be things that we're not, yes, but generally it's some heroic fantasy or some dark need we want to fulfill. Take Stephen Hawking, one of the world's brightest minds who's been quoted to make light of a situation of being in a wheelchair, or countless cancer patients that still manage to think positive. Making the best out of the cards you've been dealt doesn't mean you're happy with some disease you have or some unfortunate circumstance in your life. While acceptance of who we are is good, in reality when we fantasize, we want to be something more than we are. Nobody wants to play a video game where you're essentially a vegetable with fewer abilities than we already have. I know it seems like I'm being too nitpicky, but think about how much was just thrown at the player in less than 5 minutes and you're just expected to go along with it.
And we need to know if you can respond. If you can, use the virtual interface in front of you to transmit a yes.
What do I do? How do I say yes? What? The game ends if I don't say yes? I figured out if you hit C, you can see Casey's interface, which is basically everything Casey can do in the game.
Yes. Great. It works.
Case, you probably haven't heard, but the war is over. We flamed their butts at Exeter 3. The Vicar lost a third of their fleet, man. They went running with their tails between their legs straight to the Taladarans, practically begged them to negotiate a peace treaty. Of course, you know, that put us out of a job. But hey, war is hell, right?
So right now you're aboard the Artemis, finest salvaging vessel in the sector. Zach and I cobbled her together from a couple of surplus Alliance transports.
And not to mention the engines that we sort of borrowed from an Orion-class destroyer. May not look like much from the outside, but she could tug terra firma right out of orbit.
Well, we thought we'd help salvage some of the Vakar ships we helped disable in the first place.
Seems only fair. The way we see it, there's a lot of valuable cargo out there just floating around, free for the taking.
So you kept me alive to become a space pirate? Your first task is really to start trying out certain options from your interface while you're investigating a Vakar freighter, which I'm pretty sure is just designed for the player to get used to the controls.
What does it feel like having your eyes and ears floating around in a little ball while the rest of you's back here with us?
Knock it off, Zach.
How would that even work?
Whoa! God, those things are ugly.
Why, Zach? I always thought you found aliens quite attractive.
Hey. I was drunk that night, you know that. And besides, it swore to me that it was female.
What kind of liquor would ever make your mind think that was okay to sleep with? Ew. It looks like there'd be some serious chafing involved too. There are long stretches of video that you watch where you're really not doing anything at all, and to further prove my point from before that Casey's existence isn't needed, the first ship you encounter she'll scan for you if you don't click one of the options. Not finding anything of value in this ship is what sets the main story in motion because Zach decides he wants to go to Mizar, which is an area of space that humans essentially shouldn't ever go. Wait, what were they knocked out by? They're not even belted into what look like basic office chairs you could pick up at Walmart. Well, anyway, to get the power back on and resurrect your crew, you need to mend the wires by connecting the lines from the walls to the center. Pretty simple stuff. This is where you start to notice a pattern. You sit through a long stretch of video, perform a puzzle, and then you sit through a long stretch of video again. With everything back online again, you find out that your ship is pretty much space scrap and you're stuck on this unknown ship which just so happens to be headed toward the sun. According to Zach, you've got about 4 hours before you're toast. Yeah! Talking about some toast, bitch! So your crew puts on these astronaut uniforms which make them look like Ram Man from He-Man and go on board with you. Which now you can see how small you are, and it reminds me of the movie Batteries Not Included. Once you open the first door, the game prompts you to put in disc 2. Yeah, believe it or not, there's actually 4 discs to this game. That's a bit much, but also a real testament to the limits of CD-ROMs and how much actual video they can hold. Since they discover the air is breathable, this gives them the excuse to take their suits off. As this is happening, they're surprised by a dying alien who they're able to tell by looking at it have been attacked by something called Kryn, which is supposedly a deadly alien that resembles a piranha. Hey, you mean I might actually get to kill something in this game? Because Ari and Zach are unable to open a doorway, they send me through it. So I end up in this room where I start trying out some of the commands, which none of them seem to do anything. But I'm able to click to the other side, and that causes me just to sort of wander back and forth for a considerable amount of time. At this point, I'm not exactly sure what I'm supposed to do, and thankfully it's interrupted by Ari, who tells me to come back and asks if I saw anything that looked like navigational controls. After clicking no, the game continues. Now, one might be saying to themselves that seemed like a pretty big waste of time. And that's because it was.
Looks like a huge sink. It's filled with water.
Poop.
Oh, Zach, you always did know how to make me laugh.
What the hell are you looking at, Cyclops?
Oh, Ari, look, it's a sink. Really?
After wandering around the ship, you make it to the main area where you have several sealed doors. They're all locked with a different kind of puzzle, and it's always set up with the same cover over the puzzle. They look like icons off a PlayStation controller. And what is this supposed to be, an upside-down marijuana leaf? After unlocking the door, you get more silly dialogue, and you're constantly being forced to just watch the camera sway around. My only guess is that the programmers must have been pretty happy with their design and thought it was a good idea to show it off every chance they got. Admittedly, for its time, it actually looks good, so even though this gets irritating to keep seeing these same shots, I can at least understand the reasoning behind it.
Oh, nothing around here. You found anything that looked like a nav console?
Nah, nothing like that. Did see a thing that looked like a big old hot tub. I was thinking maybe you and me would go down there, splash around, splash. Or not.
Come on, Zach. Wake up. Zach!
Holy boobs!
Come on, Zach!
Holy man crotch!
Oh, now what? Oh, it's an elevator. Oh, I'm getting too old for this shit. Hey, Casey. Remember right after basic? We were dying to get into a real war. We weren't even ready. I guess nobody is. Combat changes, people.
Yeah, because I totally believe you've seen combat with that mile-long stare and the reflexes of a sloth. Please, tell me more.
You're always there for us. Straight and steady. But now you've changed too. Is it still you in there, Casey? Do you still feel?
Is she coming on to me? What is she gonna do? Jab a thumb drive in me? Pull out my 3.5 floppy disk and smack me with it? Rub my volume knob? Upgrade my DirectX package? Increase the size of my hard drive? Update the BIOS on my Mobo? Cause I'm so turned on right now. Beep boop, beep boop.
Sure would be nice to hear your voice again. I think the medtechs were working on a speech interpolation system when we pulled you from the lab. Sorry we were in such a hurry.
Once again, in 2 months' time, you were able to build a computer that allowed me to interact with the environment and interpret sounds and visuals, but you couldn't figure out how to hook me up to a speak and spell? Hello. Actually, no, this really irritates me. Take a game like Snatcher for the Sega CD. You had verbal choices. Why can't FMV games like this have verbal choices? For each different word choice, you would get a different video response to populate. This isn't a minor complaint. The big idea with most FMV games is that it's supposed to feel interactive, as in you're interacting with the actors on screen. But since there's no real interaction in any of the FMV games, it just makes the player feel like you're watching it as opposed to actually participating. After doing a really basic color puzzle, you find your crew getting attacked by Kryn once again. However, this time you get to fight back. But I find the action really buggy. Quite literally every single time I shot one of the Kryn, I was 100% sure I missed. So in a way, this is early lag compensation that you find in online games today. Either that or the Kryn are so pissed at the lousy frame rate they're rage quitting off the screen. The next door, which now requires disc 3, takes you to some artificially projected world where Zack falls through the floor. Your character Casey automatically chases after him. Once Zack grabs a hold of you, you have to pick your boosted thruster command to save his life. If you don't do this, the game is over and you have to repeat the sequence until you get it right. It's worth noting that I believe this was the only time I ever used the boosted thruster command the entire game. So in reality, this is a useless function that's only there to make an attempt to pad out the gameplay.
I'm so sorry I left you hanging there. And next thing I knew you were gone. I'm so sorry.
Harry, it's okay.
No, it's not. I'm stupid. I'm supposed to be keeping you alive.
Harry.
It's my job. We're a team. I'm so sorry, Zack.
Harry. Look, you and,
Zack. It's my job.
Right.
Tease. This is where the puzzles go from insultingly easy to very frustrating. Looking at this puzzle right now, what would you guess you have to do? Haven't figured it out yet? Take a look at the bottom right. Wouldn't you think you're supposed to cycle the planets so that they match what you see? I mean, it makes sense. You see the puzzle elements as the cycle of light provided from the sun causes shadows all over the planets. But guess what? That's not it at all. You can move 4 of these planets, but there's one you can't move. The one you can't move is supposed to be centered over the sun, meaning you have to make it cause an eclipse. Once I say that, it doesn't seem like a big deal, but when you play this without any prior knowledge, it's easy to get lost in many of these extremely cryptic puzzles. And to make it worse, it gets more cryptic as the game goes on, and none of the puzzles have offered any hints either. It just seems like I get lucky. Eventually, you'll solve a puzzle that'll lead you to finding a purplish ball. At this point, no one is sure what they mean, so Zack just keeps packing them away for you. As you continue on, you'll be hit with a barrage of more puzzles. This one, for example, you have to freeze the shapes in a certain position to match another shape. Again, no hints are offered as to what you're supposed to do. How is anyone in 1995 going to figure this out? Thank you, Internet.
Harry. No! Oh, this damn Kryn screwed up the door.
Hey, Casey, why don't you see if there's another way around this thing? Maybe you can figure out a way to open it from the other side.
What the hell was that with the gun pulling thing?
I'm sorry. It's just a reflex.
Yeah, some reflex. That was about as fast as molasses coming out of a jar. You know, they're really trying very hard to convince the audience that Ari is war-torn. If you wanted a war-torn female lead to be convincing, why didn't you just hire someone like Linda Hamilton? Now that's a real lady. I do need to comment on this room because I found this to be the most frustrating thing in the game other than the cryptic puzzles. Because of the Kryn that damaged the door, you have to go through a network of tunnels, but it's basically a maze with no map and no landmarks. So you're going to get lost several times. So if for whatever reason you decide to give this game a try, at the start of the tunnel after you've turned your light on, the pattern to make it through is up, left, right, and then up again. This will get you back to the main hallway, but you have to be very careful because the second time you come back here later, if you make a right while in the hallway, it'll start the whole sequence and the maze of tunnels all over again. That's quite a punishment for such a small mistake, and if you didn't write your actions down, you'd be screwed. This time, however, since we're trying to help our crew, we'll make a right once in the hallway. The next room just has you looking at panels and copying the patterns of how the aliens communicate, which will later help you open up these weird devices with the proper color combination to get more of those purple orb things. In other words, busy work. Believe it or not, the busy work actually gets worse, and it's the worst kind. First of all, your crew spends the rest of the time in the main area basically waiting to die because we haven't figured out how to take control of the ship. So while they're doing this, you're going back and forth through all the doors alone and grabbing as many of the purple orbs that you can find and bringing them back to Ari and Zach. That in itself is a serious chore, but again, would you ever guess that this irritating task could actually be amplified times 1,000? Don't believe me? Check this out, and I kid you not. Every single time you access a door from the main area, the 3DO literally prompts you to put in a disc every single time. I'm not joking. Most of the time you're only in each room for a couple of minutes. Imagine having to get up to change discs this often, and I'll level with you right now. By the time I was able to move on in the story, I probably changed the discs around 30 times. No exaggeration, literally about 30 times. It got so bad that I sat my fat ass in front of the 3DO just swapping these out every time I needed to do something. I have played many different types of CD-ROM games that include multiple discs. To a certain extent, it's excusable because of the limited space on a CD-ROM, but this has gone way beyond the point of a typical gamer's tolerance and patience. Did the programmers not test this all the way through? Since you're seeing the same sequence repeatedly in the hall for when you're collecting all these purple orbs, wouldn't it make more sense to move all of that information on the same disc? At that point, all of the information would fit on one disc and just keep all of the other video on the other 3 discs. I can't even begin to understand what the hell they were thinking. Imagine all of the wear it causes on your drive doing this, or just the motor pushing the tray out repeatedly. Honestly, this is the dumbest space management I've ever seen. It's so shockingly stupid that I have nothing to say. Nothing! The technical decisions here are so bad that it's literally hindered my ability to think, and I am now dumber for having experienced it. After you've gone through this, you'll discover the orbs open up a fountain area in the main hall that shows a kind of control that requires an alien hand. You chop up one of the purple ant-looking things and bring it back to the control to get to the final area. Well, technically you do this twice. The first time you bring it, Zach throws it to the side. If you look around and pick it up again, then the right video sequence will play and let you unlock the final area. How would you ever know to do this? Imagine how stumped you would have to be looking for another path after Zach does this, thinking you did something wrong. Not only that, but I had no clue the first time that I could even look at the floor in this room. The game up until this point has only given you the indication that you're able to look from side to side. Again, how would you ever know to do this without the internet? If you're expecting a boss battle, you'd be wrong. All you do is flash the right color combination and then Ari bows.
Artemis log. The force field created by the creatures which call themselves SETI protected us and the ship from the intense heat. The Kryn either fled or were destroyed when we passed through the star's corona. The newly born queen possesses race memory and incredible psychokinetic abilities. She improved Casey's translation abilities and then answered many of our questions. She even repaired the Artemis.
Yeah, Ari, we're receiving a transmission from the Daedalus. Putting it on screen.
So the final verdict? It's not bad. The acting is pretty good for what it is, and it's kind of funny in spots. The puzzles, while very cryptic, are still somewhat fascinating enough to keep you coming back for more. I've commented in the past about FMV games that have that B-movie quality, and this does a job. There are several things that are stupid and silly, but it's the kind of far-fetched BS that makes this game's video sequences fun, and it keeps enough interest in the player that you actually want to see the next scene. I might even say this was good, but what really keeps me from doing so is the fact that the title forces you to swap discs constantly to an amount that's unheard of. Hello?
Hey, Half-Bit.
You.
Did you miss me?
No, and I'm still not happy with the last present you sent me. I don't play crappy games.
Oh, that's too bad. I decided to leave you another present made by one of your favorite people. I left it by the front door. Good luck, Half-Bit. You're gonna need it.
Motherfucker.